तो तुम्हारे दिमाग से क्या क्वेश्चंस प्रोबेबल हो सकते हैं, क्या जानना है? इंडस वाटर ट्रीटी और पार्डन नेबरहुड रिलेशंस, तो सार्क वार्क नहीं, ये सब तो आउटडेटेड चीजें। तो सबसे पहले तो क्वेश्चन लिखो क्या हो सकता है। ठीक है, तो एनालाइज द चेंजिंग अप्रोच of India in dealing with Pakistan. Next, कैसे लिखो, are there any discernible changes in the way India deals with Pakistan? Next, what are the future challenges which India should be prepared in dealing with Pakistan? फिर examine India's strategic calculus behind recent approach with respect to Indus Water Treaty. एक theoretical question लिख लो. Explain the concept of escalation ladder with reference to the recent crisis between India and Pakistan. ठीक है, तो सबसे पहले इंडिया पाकिस्तान जो भी रिलेशंस हैं, हाउ इंडिया पाकिस्तान रिलेशंस हैव इवॉल्व्ड, या आज हम इंडिया की पाकिस्तान पॉलिसी के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में एग्जैक्टली वो क्या पॉलिसी है, व्हाट इज द पॉलिसी, हाउ आर वी डीलिंग विथ पाकिस्तान, इज देयर एनी स्कोप फॉर डायलॉग, is there any scope for diplomacy, what is government's position on that, is government ready to go for dialogue or diplomacy? No, not at all. Fine. So the only thing that we have to deal with Pakistan is now deterrence. Okay, so it is all about nuclear and conventional deterrence. And because do you see much role for international diplomacy in India-Pakistan relations now? No. So India will go all alone, and India has put onus on others. Fine. So this time a big shift is from a reactive approach. We are now in a proactive approach, fine, where we are putting onus on the other parties. And we have made our position very clear. Means up till now, like there has never been such a formal statement, like in case of any terrorist attack, what India will do and what India will not do. But and up till now, in a way, directly, we never had any national security doctrine. Even today, we do not have, because we also believed in maintaining strategic ambiguity and strategic ambivalence, because you do not know how things will evolve. But today, India's government, India's strategic community, and the people at large, everybody is on the same front. We can say that Pakistan, as a question, like there is hardly any ambiguity left. India has, like Prime Minister Modi has given the three basic strategies, like how India will deal with Pakistan with respect to 3-point strategy on terrorism. Means we will not differentiate between a state sponsored action or something led by non-state actors. And India will go for a very like massive response of all these things. So a lot of change has happened in India and Pakistan relations. So if we start the journey of India and Pakistan relations, what is the story? What is the story of India-Pakistan relations? In this story, we do not see much role of diplomacy, dialogue, and the recurrent nature is that of war, either the direct wars or asymmetrical wars. This is what India-Pakistan story is. So we do not say that India-Pakistan relations, we never say improvement in relations, because India and Pakistan do not have normal relations. Fine. So if you look at evolution of India and Pakistan relations, what you observe is all about war with some pauses, and perhaps India and Pakistan relation is a best example where we can say that in international politics, it is all a struggle for power, and nations are either in war or in preparation of war. And if it is all about war and the parties possess nuclear weapons, so India-Pakistan policy, yeah, stability, it relies not on diplomacy or dialogue, rather it relies on deterrence. Deterrence is the key word, not diplomacy and dialogue. Fine. So we have to understand how the concept of deterrence is evolving. Fine. Between India and Pakistan. So if we see before 1998, when the two countries didn't possess nuclear weapons, means there was enormous scope for conventional war, and conventional wars did happen. Fine, 1947, 65, 71, and India's superiority in conventional wars was not a deterrence enough for Pakistan, because Pakistan has always shown brinksmanship. Means Pakistan has shown extraordinary capacity to take risk, and India's posture always has been either defensive or reactive. Pakistan didn't act with restraint, rather India always acted with restraint. So the story has been, each time Pakistan is starting the game and onus has been on India, and India had to survive the threats given by Pakistan each time. So Pakistan's strategic culture has been offensive, or you can say Pakistan's strategic culture has been that of offense and offense defense, whereas India's strategic culture has been more of a defensive posture. Though we have seen the glimpse of India's offensive posture in 1971, but we were so much looking for, like we were so much conscious of how international community will respond to it. We were so much looking for legitimation of our action by international community that you must have seen the then Prime Minister of India visiting some prominent Western capitals, keeping others in confidence before taking action. Okay, and the way we have been, and in the meantime we have entered into many such agreements, and most importantly Indus Water Treaty Agreement, which you can say has been not favorable to India, rather favorable to Pakistan. So we have been entering into such type of agreements, ceasefire line. In 1965, our armed forces, they could capture very strategic heights like Haji Pir Pass till Lahore also, but we gave things back. We have never shown any diplomatic skill, whether it is Tashkent, whether it is Shimla agreement, and thanks to USSR and Indian armed forces, that we have been able to protect our prestige. So we do not see lot of maturity or real politics as far as India's decision making structure is concerned. Okay, and that is why the debate also emerged in international academic community, like George Tenham held that India lacks strategic culture. Strategic culture means it is not in India's blood. War is not in India's blood. War and strategy. Whereas Pakistan appears to be a true disciple of Kautilya. And India's statecraft is more governed by Buddhism or moral posturing. And that is why India also earned this title of Indian exceptionalism. So India was doing something which was not norm in international politics, rather something exceptional, unexperimented. It is more like India behaving like Plato's philosopher king, looking for implementing those ideas which have never been tested. And we can say that actually we didn't benefit much, and India was left to continuously absorb the cuts which Pakistan was giving to us. We were absorbing that. Fine. So after 71 till 1998, 80s is the time when Pakistan, with the support of US, has created havoc on the subcontinent in the form of terrorism in Punjab, as well as terrorism in Kashmir. And even at this point of time, Pakistan didn't possess nuclear weapon, but just like the situation of Iran today, like Pakistan has also been in a threshold status. We were not pretty sure whether Pakistan possessed nuclear weapons or not, because by mid 80s, AQ Khan's that network, these things started, like the information about it started coming up. So we were not sure still this was a time like, you can say that if 60s was a dangerous decade for Indian polity, 80s was also very dangerous decade when we see lot of center and state disputes, lot of regional challenges, and Indian economy also not in a proper shape, and USSR was also too much engaged in managing its own house, or in Afghanistan. So it is like we could have tried for some military option to tackle Pakistan's misadventure here, but God knows why such an extraordinary restraint India has shown, and India delayed acquiring nuclear weapons also. Now, during this time, it's not that we have not thought about dealing Pakistan militarily, striking Pakistan deep inside, gaining strategic depth in Pakistan. We did, and this thought process is associated with K. Sundarji and like Sundarji doctrine was there, though Indian armed forces or Indian government doesn't release the official doctrines as such. And under his doctrine was using India's armed forces and massive mobilization of India's armed forces, and trying to gain some strategic gain over Pakistan. And one reason, like perhaps maybe, that India didn't go for offensive actions has been that Pakistan was also from time to time the member of collective defense pacts. So when Pakistan is a member of collective defense pacts, then until and unless India's action is convincingly a defensive action, we would have invited big danger. Okay. And we were not under any formal collective security pact. So there has been K. Sundarji's doctrine. And under this doctrine, there was also some simulated exercises that has happened in the form of Operation Brass Tacks. And the scale of the operation, around half or around 50 or like 50,000 soldiers were mobilized and put into exercise. That has created significant pressure on Pakistan, and Pakistan approach to international community to put pressure on India. So how to deal with Pakistan? There is a continuous strategic, continuous evolution in India's strategic thinking. Okay, we did certain actions, but because of geopolitical conditions, because of Pakistan US access, because of our domestic challenges, and because of our national movement also, where there has been so much influence of Nehru, Gandhi, non-violence, and India wanted to establish a different type of its identity in international politics, the normative leadership. whatever may be the factors, we didn't took very offensive approach, and India appeared to be lacking a strategic culture. And perhaps the lack of a strategic culture was also the reason that we took extremely long to even opt for nuclear weapons in 1998, and we kept on talking about disarmament and these type of things. So 1998 we see a change, but our nuclear policy is also the second strike policy, whereas Pakistan's nuclear policy is more offensive, which Pakistan says full spectrum deterrence, means our strategic thinking is more restrained. We have adopted the approach of strategic restraint, and that is why, like, nuclear weapons to be used only in case there is a nuclear attack or attack by chemical and biological weapons, and we will not be the first to use. So India adopted the policy of deterrence, and this policy of deterrence, our posture, is known as deterrence by denial rather than deterrence by punishment. Fine. So deterrence by denial means we will focus more on developing our defensive capabilities, okay, rather than our offensive capabilities. And that is why in our nuclear doctrine we have a concept of minimum credible deterrence, okay, where our focus has been on minimum. Okay, now deterrence by denial is a strategy of deterrence that was used during Cold War between USA and USSR. Our deterrence policy is based on MAD, mutually assured destruction, which we have borrowed from the experience of Cold War between US and Russia. That is why some people say that, and our deterrence posture has always been questionable, means we never muster enough guts to come with a very strong offensive posture. This MAD doctrine worked between US and Russia because Cuban Missile Crisis demonstrably show that they both are rational actors. But can we say with certainty, as far as Pakistan is concerned, so from the very beginning, there was also a question mark that India's approach to deterrence is too defensive, and defensive action is not always good, because no one can have 100%, you can never be sure of 100% defensive capabilities. Fine. It can always be pierced, it can always be penetrated. No country, even US faced 9/11, even Russia faces, France faces. So defensive strategy is never foolproof. It means defensive strategy may give you certain diplomatic advantages, but in the long time, India came to realize that India does not have enough diplomatic prowess that we can mobilize international community to isolate Pakistan or to penalize Pakistan. So now we realize this, that Pakistan's location, Pakistan's diplomacy, Pakistan's strategic posture, and Pakistan has very well established itself and its importance in international politics. So maybe just like in case of Iran, I told, there can be sympathizers, but whether they will really take an effective action against Pakistan is a big question mark. That is why right now we are not looking so much for external validation. Though after Operation Sindoor, Government of India has sent the representatives. So see, in 1971, our Prime Minister ourselves visited so many capitals. And that was before taking action. We were so scared and we were so much restrained. So at least we we cared less about international community this time. And certainly we offered, like we went for diplomatic engagement, but not before India takes any action. This time we have not taken any country in confidence. We didn't felt there is any need, and it is our fight. We have to fight on our own rather than looking for some type of international, because we realize that uh, for example, Pakistan was always important not just for China or US. Pakistan was also important for Russia. And it was because of Cold War dynamics that Pakistan itself went and joined US led military defense pacts, that Russia had no choice but to come with India. And then, after the end of Cold War, again, despite knowing Pakistan's role in collapse of USSR, USSR could not ignore Pakistan, and because Russia's dependency on China and many other factors, Russia looking for new defense markets, Russia will always have stakes in Central Asia, Pakistan's location, which helps Pakistan to position itself and to jump beyond its weight. Fine. So the idea is that there may be sympathizers, but it will not always be very useful. Rather, when you approach international community, because international communities sentiment, I feel, is tilted more towards Pakistan than towards India. So even if when we approach international community, the role of international community is more to restrain India's actions, fine, a restraining effect, because they fear the possibility of escalation, fine. And again, because international communities in like uh, in open, they may favor India, they may sympathize India, but actually Pakistan does have a lot of leverage on countries like Saudi Arabia. They may, on certain issues, they may support India, but it will not happen that OIC will completely support India's position all the time. After all, religion matters. You can't say so. Now OIC, US, Pakistan is important for so many countries, for so many reasons. And our experience with international community has never been that great, starting with the time India took Kashmir issue to UN Security Council. Even Indus Water Treaty, we went to, we accepted World Bank's mediation, and things had not been in our favor. Again, at the time of Operation Parakram, when there was an attack on Indian Parliament, international community's role was more to restrain. Restraining India means helping Pakistan, fine. Rather, international community should put too much pressure on Pak to restrain Pakistan. And we don't see, because even at FATF, despite that Lashkar-e-Taiba is being treated as is as an international terrorist organizations, we see that Pakistan remained at the max only in the gray list, and from 22 it was out of it. As and when Pakistan wants, IMF and all, they are there to help them out. Okay, so not of much use, and it is always better that India, one of the largest one of the largest countries in the world, should at least today feel confident, fine. And this is what has been done. So before taking action, there were no phone calls, and as Trump claims, there was a phone call from Islamabad to US and from US to India. It was not that from India talking first to the others. Okay, so lot of things have changed in the way India deals, and there has always been Pakistan has been using low intensity warfare even before 1998, but in 1998 the scope for low intensity warfare increases further. I was telling that India adopted a strategy of deterrence by denial, and often as a country we are very slow to react, fine. So today our posture has shifted away from deterrence by denial to deterrence by punishment, but it took decades to shift, fine. let's say it took 25 years from 2001 parliament attack till 2025 Pahalgam attack, right? Or even before at a small scale. Okay. So when in 1998 itself, when India adopted deterrence by denial, there has been a question mark, because defensive, you must have studied in Mearsheimer or other theorists of international politics, even if we talk about Graham Allison. Offense is always better posture, though offense has a cost. And in most of the scenarios, the countries which go for offense are always in better position. So when India adopted deterrence by denial, one fundamental problem was, is Pakistan a rational actor at all? It is rational actor, of course, but it does not work, or it does not portray its image purposefully. Rather, it goes for bad guy image, because bad guy image also has advantage in international politics, as it is said that in politics good guys finish last, and Pakistan maintained this position. So there was a question mark, should we go for deterrence by denial? And deterrence by denial, as I said, is a posture which was the reason for strategic stability between USA and Russia during Cold War. But even during Cold War, we see change in USA's deterrence approach, and we see since the time of Eisenhower, later on Reagan, USA started making preparations, because when you are developing missile defense, etc., USA started shifting its position towards deterrence by punishment or first strike. And in theory of IR, when I taught, I have given reference to Thomas Schelling. Thomas Schelling, in his book Strategy of Conflict, is strongly advocated for developing first strike capabilities. Means go for riskier strategies. Means they started thinking that there is a possibility of the limited war. Under the umbrella of nuclear war. Okay. Now, why there was change in the strategic thinking of US? Why people in USA were suggesting to go for limited war capability? Because USSR was also not deterred much. Means USSR was spoiling USA's game in Vietnam. It was spoiling USA's game in China, in North Korea, in Afghanistan, in Cuba. So there was a change in the strategic thinking of US also. Means some type of punitive action is important, because deterrence by denial is not stopping USSR in harming USA's geopolitical objectives. So in their own thinking, the deterrence by punishment concept came. So deterrence by punishment is what is India's new normal, right? So deterrence by punishment strategy has been proposed by Thomas Schelling, advocated by Thomas Schelling. And deterrence by punishment is a riskier game, right? Because you are taking the first strike, or you are starting, let's say, conventional war, but the other party has a nuclear weapon. They can go for the nuclear war also. And during this time in USA, there was also research happened on Russia's strategic culture. And these researchers have shown that it is not necessary that if USA will act with restraint as far as nuclear weapons is concerned, Russia will also act with restraint. It means we have to have more offensive policies, because ultimately deterrence is a psychological concept. So when Russia will be deterred from USA, when they are specifically convinced about the credibility of our deterrence. So deterrence by punishment means you should be showing strong resolve, and you should show deterrence by punishment is like raising the stakes higher, and you should show that you are more inclined to use the nuclear weapon. Perhaps that will convince other party not to get involved or not to take unnecessary risk. Are you understanding it? Okay. So this thing was coming, and hence when India adopted deterrence in 90s. So there was a question that when US itself went for deterrence by punishment, and deterrence by denial proved to have limitations, and Pakistan is a more mad actor than Russia, why India is going for the deterrence by denial posture. And often on, we have seen the debate in India's strategic community whether we should go for first strike or second strike. And the debate keeps on remain non-conclusive, because we see often the officials' statements at a personal level giving an indication of this, but no change as such in the official doctrine. And in India, there are nuclear doves and nuclear hawks. And India has, whether you see in Afghanistan, whether you see in many other places in the Middle East also, our approach is to play safe. Our approach is to minimize loss rather than maximize gains. Because until and unless you will not take higher risk, how can you think about higher returns? So all is showing that India, like Americans, they can say India lack strategic culture, but Indians can defend. It's not that we lack strategic culture, but we have defensive strategic culture. Though in the war you cannot, nothing is called defense. You can't actually make a difference between defense and offense. And it is the capacity of the diplomacy, whether they are able to utilize their postures for maximization of the gains. And the Kargil war, Balakot, Operation Sindoor, all shows that actually there is like no country will take the risk of the nuclear war. Fine. The only thing was India was not able to take the risk to the extent it was required. And right now there is a big change. And do you know that we have learned from whom? From whom we have learned? From Pakistan. Fine. So right now we are playing Pakistan's game with Pakistan. Fine. And we have left playing our original game. Fine. So if Pakistan talks about Mumbai, we talk about Balochistan. Okay. So in a way, Pakistan is our teacher also in that way. Fine. So Pakistan used to go for brinksmanship, and now India is going for brinksmanship. Pakistan was presenting itself as a rogue state. Now India is not looking for validation from international community. So basically, India's response at this in case of Operation Sindoor and current approach, whatever we have done, we are playing Pakistan with Pakistan now. Okay. So and that's a good thing. And we are very late to do that. We should have done this thing earlier. Okay. So now what is the story of India-Pakistan relation from 1998 onwards? So in this context emerges another important concept of nuclear politics, that is instability, instability paradox. Fine. And instead of our nuclear weapons helping us in any way, our nuclear posture actually helped Pakistan to play the nuclear bluff. Pakistan is able to play the games more professionally, and in a way they do have, because they always had good relations with USA, means there are people to guide them. And you see that hardly there are occasions when USA will go against Pakistan. Rather, the problem is very complex. When you deal with Pakistan, you don't just deal with Pakistan. You deal with US Pakistan and you deal with China Pakistan. Okay. And how close the bond is. I made one video on that Noor Khan base also, because US is supposedly having its military bases. So it's not that Pakistan has so much wisdom in international politics. This wisdom was coming from Washington. The wisdom was not coming from Beijing. Wisdom was coming from Washington actually, because they maintained close relations. Pakistan is a major non-NATO ally of USA. Okay, so India dealing with Pakistan till during Cold War is like India dealing with US and China. And today also, India dealing with Pakistan is India dealing with US and China. Things may work against us very badly if Russia is also on Pakistan side. So fortunately, since like the war in Ukraine has given opportunity to India to somehow show or convince Russia that despite close partnership with US, India and Russia enjoy exceptional bonhomie. Like that relationship, what our official statements have been that, and if we talk about S. Jaishankar, maybe in the notes I've told, that in the age of what happens in that disturbances, क्या कहते हैं जो flight में होते हैं? Turbulence. Fine. So in the age of turbulence, India-Russia relations remained steadfast. And now it appears that Russia is also looking towards India. And if you see at the recent times, what we see, India-US relations have deteriorated a lot. And in fact, India-China relations, not always good, but better. But India has focused its all diplomatic attention in ensuring that we are also now focusing more on our friends rather than sympathizers. So two countries are appearing to be India's natural allies. One is Israel and another is Russia. So Trump administration was trying that they will pressurize India and they will extract deals. But in this SCO summit, India and Russia are in the process of discussing the future S-500, bringing S-500 missiles under Make in India thing also, and some exceptionally long-range missiles which Russia has developed. So Russia has also become ready that either they will sell it to India, or there is also a possibility of joint production with India. So in a way, as far as this theater is concerned, history is repeating itself, where though China and US not that close today, but at least they are on the side of Pakistan. So there is a possibility in international politics, things change very fast. There is a possibility of re-emergence of US, China, and Pakistan triangle. And if we also take into account like Cold War scenario, USA's policy in Bangladesh has been very opposite to what India's policy has been. Okay, so it is like history repeating itself. So now let us come back to this 1998, and when countries have deterrence, then obviously this stability instability paradox comes into picture. And it's not Pakistan, it is US which has done research. George Tenham has done research on India's strategic culture, and US understands that because US needs to extract lot of concessions from India on various fronts, in terms of defense, in terms of India's policy in Indian Ocean region, with respect to China, with respect to Russia. So it is actually US which has been using Pakistan, and it is US scholars who are doing research on India's strategic culture. So US knew that Pakistan can continue to play terrorism and US has this confidence. US knows that they are more professional, na? They can take risk, and they know that a time come when a situation will reach to the escalation between the two neighbors, and India will have its own reason to prevent stop. Fine. So US has a finger on the button, and we cannot really deny that US played a role from time to time in de-escalation. Even India would not have opposed present role of USA had Trump not done certain mistakes. Like before official announcement, Trump has mentioned in his media post, social media post, that was wrong thing. The second thing, Trump used that trade card also. This is second mistake he did, because Trump's actions put Indian government in problem, considering there is an opposition in India who will always question the strategic autonomy. So we have seen Rahul Gandhi talking about Narendra surrender and all these type of things. So obviously, two things. We cannot say there was no role, but we cannot say that we asked for them to play the role. Maybe it is Pakistan which asked, which pursued US to play the role rather than India. That is true. US, because that is actually America's game. And America knows when to push the button and stop the escalation. But it would be wrong to say India approached USA. That didn't happen. That thinking was there. And even certain background developments when Prime Minister Modi visited to USA, things were not that great. So there is no credibility in Americans. Americans can say that they had a role in ceasefire, but from Pakistan side. They cannot claim that they have a role. Fine. And this is what is official position of government of India also. And it seems that it is quite correct, because in totality, India was playing high risk game in Operation Sindoor. So it was not to stop, and India had put the ball in the game of in the court of Pakistan. And the most important card which India had used is the Indus Water Treaty. In this game, most important card is India's Indus Water Treaty. How was the equation earlier? The equation earlier was Pakistan commits terror attack, India either choosing to act with restraint or take some action, and then international mediation or international public opinion. And right now, India is not against international opinion, but not in a formal sense, in a back channel sense. We are not against that, because we know that, and actually we need it, because nuclear wars can go out of hands. Fine. But our formal position is that we do not want, or we have not given this role to any party that you come and resolve. And it is simply a ceasefire. We have not agreed for anything that we will have a dialogue and we want to normalize relations. This is not, India has not said this. Okay. So now, after this, what happened? Normal story used to be India and Pakistan will agree for talk. Fine. And here India will ask them to take action on terrorism, and Pakistan will say talk Kashmir, be it Agra summit, etc. So up till now, the strategy that was being adopted is like where Pakistan could dictate, or Pakistan could control the narrative. It was appearing as if India is begging Pakistan to take credible action on terrorism, and Pakistan is putting forward the Kashmir condition that Pakistan will take action when India will take some liberal approach towards Kashmir, something like that. But now the things have changed. India took a proactive stand where India has kept Indus Water Treaty in temporary suspension. Now, we know that Pakistan is not going to take any action on terrorism. If anybody will take action, we ourselves will take action. So for us, we are not expecting this from Pakistan. So Pakistan has nothing to pressurize India to talk on Kashmir. Rather, we have to pressurize Pakistan, like if you need water, then take credible action in terrorism. Earlier in this game, Pakistan had an upper hand. Pakistan says, if you want us to control terrorism in Kashmir, then go for dialogue, trade, visa and other things. ठीक है, लेकिन अब हम कह रहे हमको तुमसे कुछ चाहिए ही नहीं, है ना? अब चाहिए किसे, इस पे हमको बात करनी नहीं है, हमको पाकिस्तान से बात करनी ही नहीं है, ये सिर्फ हमारा सीज फायर है और हम रिस्क लेने के लिए रेडी हैं। हम रिस्क लेने के लिए रेडी हैं क्योंकि हमें पता है कि पाकिस्तान के रहनुमा बहुत हैं, है ना? यानी हम अब एस्केलेशन हम करेंगे, है ना? पाकिस्तान के पास कन्वेंशनल सुपीरियरिटी तो नहीं है, लेकिन पाकिस्तान खुद रिस्क लेगा क्या न्यूक्लियर का? नहीं लेगा। लेकिन इंडिया अगर रुक नहीं रहा है तो बजाय इंडिया जाए अपनी पोजीशन समझाए हम ऐसा कर रहे हैं, पाकिस्तान के रहनुमा हमारे पास आए और कहें भाई रुक जाओ, क्योंकि पाकिस्तान रिटेलिएट तो करेगा, लेकिन कितने दिन करेगा? जैसे अकेले नहीं कर सकता ना, जो सिचुएशन यूक्रेन की है। तो हमने अब वी आर प्लेइंग यूएस विद पाकिस्तान, वी आर प्लेइंग पाकिस्तान विद पाकिस्तान, कि बजाय हम जाएं तुम लोग आओ बचाओ, इनकी तरफ से इनको रुकाओ, हम नहीं रुकेंगे, हम तो वैसे ही मर रहे हैं, इनका कोई भरोसा तो है नहीं। तो अब हमने रिस्क को रेस कर लिया, तो अब हम इनसे कह रहे हैं कि तुम्हें पानी चाहिए तो टेररिज्म पर एक्ट करो। अब पाकिस्तान ये नहीं कह सकता है कि हम टेररिज्म पर एक्ट करेंगे तो तुम कश्मीर पे बात करो, हमें पाकिस्तान से एक्ट कराना ही नहीं। अब तो पाकिस्तान को हमसे बोलना है, हमें उनसे बोलना ही नहीं। तो नो टॉक्स विद टेरर, पाकिस्तान हैज itself lost an opportunity. Pakistan should have taken some credible action. तो इसमें पाकिस्तान, चूंकि पाकिस्तान के तो वैसे ही दिमाग नहीं, जो भी करता था वो यूएस करता था, अब यूएस बाकी जगह इंगेज है, ओके? तो अभी थोड़ा सा गेम चेंज हो गया, ओके? तो फिलहाल, लेकिन हमने चेंज होने में बहुत टाइम लगाया, ये भी काफी महत्वपूर्ण चीज है। तो अब 1998 में अपने वाजपेयी जी, बहुत गिल्ट फीलिंग थी कि क्यों बना दिया भाई न्यूक्लियर, ठीक है? फिर वाजपेयी जी गए बस लेके मीनारे पाकिस्तान, फिर लाहौर स्पिरिट इंडिया बाद में पहुंची, कारगिल पहले स्टार्ट हो गया, है ना? ठीक है, तो कारगिल is another, like we are unable to, our nuclear weapons are unable to deter Pakistan. ओके, तो ये क्या था? पाकिस्तान टेस्ट कर रहा है इंडियाज रिजॉल्व, तो उल्टा पाकिस्तान गेम खेल रहा है, लिमिटेड वॉर अंडर न्यूक्लियर अम्ब्रेला। हम खेल नहीं रहे थे, हम रिस्पॉन्ड कर रहे थे। हमें अकल बहुत देर में आई एक्चुअली। क्यों अकल बहुत देर में आई? क्योंकि इंडिया में मिलिट्री और सिविलियन कोऑर्डिनेशन नहीं रहा। पॉलिसी मेकिंग में हमने मिलिट्री को वो रोल नहीं दिया जो हमें देना चाहिए। हर मेजर कंट्री में रोल होता है मिलिट्री का। तो इसलिए जो पॉलिटिशियन है वो पाकिस्तान के साथ डील करना कोई ट्रेड का इशू थोड़ी है ना। पाकिस्तान के साथ डील करना तो वॉर का इशू है। यहाँ पर पॉलिसी मेकिंग जो है वो मिलिट्री पर्सनल के हाथ में होनी चाहिए, ना कि सिविलियन में। इसलिए हमने बहुत टाइम लगाया। ठीक है, तो देर लगी आने में उनको, शुक्र है फिर भी आए। तो मतलब बहुत देर, मतलब थका दिया इन लोगों ने। कब 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 फाइन पूरे स्टोरी को समझने में। तो भाई इसमें तो कारगिल में इन्होंने टेस्ट किया, फिर यूएस ने कहा, फिर यहाँ पे मुशर्रफ आ गए आगरा समिट पर। ठीक है, फिर ये आगरा से वापस पहुंचे और फिर इधर पार्लियामेंट पे अटैक हो गया। वहां से मान लो बस वापस नहीं आई और कारगिल हो गया। यहाँ से मुशर्रफ नहीं गए, फिर ये हो गया। क्योंकि वो हर बार ये देखते हैं कि इंडिया कुछ करेगा कि नहीं करेगा, और इसमें इनकी मतलब क्या कह सकते हैं, वो कैपेसिटी या वो बढ़ती चली जाती है इनका, है ना। तो अब 2001 अटैक हो गया, फिर वाजपेयी जी काफी नाराज हो गए। वाजपेयी जी ने लॉन्च किया ऑपरेशन पराक्रम। लेकिन यूएस के प्रेशर से, प्रेशर हमारे ऊपर पड़ रहा है, जबकि गुस्ताखी वो लोग कर रहे हैं, है ना। प्रेशर में हम लोग आ रहे हैं। तो हमारी जो फॉरेन पॉलिसी पूरी खिचड़ी थी, घटिया सी थी। ठीक है, तो ऑपरेशन पराक्रम में हमने सिर्फ मोबिलाइजेशन कर पाए और हम कुछ कर नहीं पाए एक्चुअली। अब इसमें जब हम कुछ कर नहीं पाए तो इंडियन मिलिट्री ने प्रपोज किया कोल्ड स्टार्ट डॉक्ट्रिन। लेकिन कभी भी ऑफिशियली मिलिट्री के सजेशंस को बहुत सीरियसली नहीं लिया गया, है ना। तो कोल्ड स्टार डॉक्ट्रिन था जो ऑपरेशन पराक्रम के एक्सपीरियंस पे बेस था कि जितनी देर में हम एक्शन लेते हैं तब तक इंटरनेशनल कम्युनिटी का प्रेशर आ जाता है। तो कोल्ड स्टार्ट क्या था, के सुंदर जी डॉक्ट्रिन वर्सेस कोल्ड स्टार डॉक्ट्रिन। के सुंदर जी डॉक्ट्रिन था हेवी डिप्लॉयमेंट, कन्वेंशनल वॉर। कोल्ड स्टार डॉक्ट्रिन था लिमिटेड मोबिलाइजेशन ऑफ फोर्सेस और स्विफ्ट एक्शन लेकर के we will capture certain land and we will pressurize international community। बट कोल्ड स्टार्ट कभी एक्शन में नहीं आ पाया। ये एक्शन में आना चाहिए था नेक्स्ट टेरर अटैक में, लेकिन ऐसा कोई गवर्नमेंट की उसको लेके सपोर्टिव पॉलिसी थी तो ऐसा था नहीं। ठीक है, तो अभी आ गया अपना कोल्ड स्टार डॉक्ट्रिन। फिर 2003 में वाजपेयी जी इमोशनल हो गए और वाजपेयी जी ने कहा वी कैन नॉट चेंज आवर नेबर्स, वी कैन चेंज आवर फ्रेंड्स बट वी कैन नॉट चेंज आवर नेबर्स। ठीक है, इसके बाद होता है आपका इस्लामाबाद समिट, और इसमें डिसाइड होता है कि सार्क को रिवाइटलाइज किया जाए, साफ्टा by 2016 SAFTA will come into existence, and the launch of composite dialogue process. So this composite dialogue process between India and Pakistan in 2003 is also brainchild of USA, because USA needed Pakistan's full support in Afghanistan, and otherwise, if India-Pakistan remain engaged in Kashmir, then the requisite help will not come. Okay, and accordingly, this composite dialogue. So basically, there is nothing to talk with Pakistan. Fine, and this offers again get in the form of some or the other terrorist attack only. So somehow, because US and everyone was engaged in Afghanistan, there was relative peace, some improvement in the relations. But the next big thing has been the Mumbai terror attack, which was termed in media as a war on India. Fine. And just see, despite US citizens, Israeli citizens getting killed, US has been supportive of David Headley और कौन था इसमें, तहव्वुर राना, है ना। इसी से पता चलता है कि इनके खुद के लोग भी मर रहे हैं, लेकिन पॉलिसी में चेंज थोड़ी आ रहा है उनका, तो इनको सपोर्ट कौन कर रहा है। यूएस अगर चाहे तो एक दिन में पाकिस्तान विल हैंड ओवर मंसूर, क्या है, मसूद, क्या नाम है इसका, मसूद अजहर, ठीक है। तो सपोर्ट तो यूएस ही कर रहा है ना एक्चुअली इनको। ओके, तो अब यहाँ पर इंडियन लीडरशिप भी भाई मैटर करती है। तो मनमोहन सिंह जी ये पाकिस्तान से आए थे, इनकी सुनहरी यादें थी वहाँ की। तो मनमोहन सिंह जी तो इस ख्यालात के इंसान थे कि उनको अमृतसर में लंच करना था। वैसे भी इकोनॉमिस्ट इंसान, पढ़ने लिखने वाले इंसान, कोएलिशन गवर्नमेंट, ठीक है। तो इंडिया ने कैसे बिहेव किया, स्ट्रेटेजिक रिस्ट्रेन से, ठीक है। तो इंडिया ने इतना बड़ा, मतलब इट इज अ वॉर टाइप ऑफ एन इवेंट, इट इज लाइक इंडियाज September 11, but the way US reacted by declaring war on Afghanistan, what India did, nothing. Fine. So India collected उनकी फेडरल ब्यूरो ऑफ इन्वेस्टिगेशन और अपनी सीबीआई और बाकी मिल करके हमने डोजियर बनाया और इनको एविडेंसेस दिए कि ये लो पाकिस्तान एक्ट करो। और पाकिस्तान तो पहले ही एक्टिंग कर रहा है, एक्ट क्या करेगा ठीक है। तो पाकिस्तान वाले भी हंसते होंगे, ये हमने दे दिया डोजियर, और हम उनसे उम्मीद भी लगा रहे हैं कि वो मसूद अजहर को पकड़ेंगे, इसको उसको पकड़ेंगे, हाफिज सईद को पकड़ेंगे, हमें देंगे, फिर हम उनको चीनी देंगे, हम उनको MFN स्टेटस देंगे। मतलब हम लोग को अमृतसर में लंच चलो कर लो, इनको लाहौर में डिनर और ये सब ब्रेकफास्ट वाली कहानी थी। तो हम क्या, हमारा रिएक्शन क्या था टेररिस्ट अटैक पर? तुम टेररिस्ट अटैक करो, हम आपको नोट्स दे रहे हैं, ठीक है, ये लो मैम के स्पाइरल ले जाओ, ठीक है, पढ़ लो। पढ़ने के लिए, ऐसे पाकिस्तान में कौन बैठा है पढ़ने के लिए, लेकिन दे दिया हमने। तो भाई देयर वाज ह्यूज डिससेटिस्फैक्शन इन द इंडियन पब्लिक। फिर पब्लिक से आ गया रिपब्लिक, फाइन, और रिपब्लिक टीवी ने कहा इंडिया वांट्स टू नो कि भाई नेशन वांट्स टू नो, है ना, कि भाई ये क्या चल क्या रहा है, कैसे होगा। फिर रिपब्लिक टीवी की महिमा और सारे बाकी सबके आगे अपने मोदी जी। मोदी जी ने भी बड़ा टाइम लिया बदलने में, ठीक है। अब मोदी जी जब आए थे तो लोगों को लगा कि एकदम आएंगे उधर से बिल्कुल वॉर और दिवाली चालू हो जाएगी, लेकिन मोदी जी ने 2014 स्वेरिंग इन सेरेमनी में ऑल सार्क हेड्स को बुलाया। ये एक्चुअली ग्लोबल कॉन्टेक्स्ट में भी वेरी अनप्रेसिडेंटेड है, बिकॉज सेरेमनी एंड ऑल is all domestic things, calling and including this foreign policy angle is India's initiative. Now Trump has also called, ठीक है। तो इसका मतलब है मोदी जी is after all Indian, want to give peace a chance, fine, and then Modi ji December 25th December 2015 को पहुंच गए फ्री में शादी का खाना खाने, ठीक है। तो वो नवाज शरीफ की ग्रैंड डॉटर की मैरिज हो रही थी। अब ये बड़ा सरप्राइजिंग एलिमेंट हो गया, और वहां पे शादी में भी मतलब मोदी जी काम करते रहते हैं। तो मोदी जी और नवाज शरीफ ने डिसाइड किया कि NSA की मीट करके हम रिलेशनशिप को आगे बढ़ाएंगे, ठीक है। और 2 जनवरी इस पठानकोट 2016, है ना, पठानकोट अटैक। In Pathankot attack also, India acted with restraint. We didn't blame Pakistan. We were willing to give Pakistan a chance. We didn't blame Pakistan. We handed over the information FIR report again. Pakistan also acted sensibly, and Pakistan said that they will take action. They arrested some of the people, operatives of Jaish-e-Mohammed, but to India's pain, not Masood, क्या नाम है भाई, मसूद, मसूर की दाल याद आ जाती है, मसूद अजहर, इसको लेके इंडिया का मन थोड़ा फीका हो गया, फाइन। मोदी जी ने कहा हम तुम्हारे लिए आम लेके आए थे, जाने क्या लेके गए थे, तुम मसूद अजहर को नहीं दे सकते। मोदी जी अपना गुजराती स्टाइल में सोच रहे थे कि आम के बदले मसूद अजहर को ले आएंगे। अब इसमें थोड़ा सा वो दुखी हो गए। अब पाकिस्तान वैसे भी नहीं दे सकता था, पाकिस्तान तो तब देगा जब यूएस देने देगा, ठीक है, तो वैसे भी नहीं दे सकते थे, तो इसमें स्टिल हमने रिस्ट्रेन, प्लस वी अलाउड investigative team from Pakistan to come and investigate. So this Pathankot terror attack was on our army base. ठीक है, अब इसमें 4 से 5 मिलिट्री पर्सनल वेयर किल्ड। फाइन, तो धीरे धीरे क्या हो रहा है, 4, उसके बाद उरी में मे बी 16, 20, फिर पुलवामा में, और तो वो अटैक कर रहे हैं मिलिट्री को। लेकिन अब पहलगाम में फिर अटैक किया गया सिविलियन को। सिविलियन का मतलब क्या हुआ, आप काउंटर वैल्यू टारगेट पे फिर अटैक कर रहे हो, और इसके साथ साथ रिलीजियस कलर देने की कोशिश, जिससे कि इंडिया में पोलराइजेशन हो। ओके, तो मेन है पहले स्मॉल स्केल पे कर रहे हैं, यानी पाकिस्तान का जो ये है एम्बिशन बढ़ रहा है, और अगर हम उनको स्टॉप नहीं करेंगे तो दे कैन गो टू एनी एक्सटेंट। फाइन, एंड सो यहाँ पे भी कुछ, एंड देयर वाज अ क्वेश्चन मार्क ऑन in parliament over government of India allowing all these things. So even Indian team was supposed to go, but everything got cancelled because this investigative team found that there is no role as such, and it is like India का ये सब फेक है, और ये इंडिया ने ही मैनेज किया है ये सारा चीजें। मतलब उनको ये पता चला, पहले पता चला था जब इन्वेस्टिगेशन करने नहीं आए थे, तब उन्हें ये पता चला था जैश ए मोहम्मद का रोल है। लेकिन जब इन्वेस्टिगेशन करने आए यहाँ, तब इन्हें पता लगा ये तो इंडिया का रोल है, जैश ए मोहम्मद वालों का कोई रोल नहीं। ठीक है, तो अब मतलब दैट वाज रियली पानी सिर पे चढ़ चुका मोदी जी के, मतलब दैट वाज सो नॉनसेंस। स्टिल वी आर नॉट डूइंग एनीथिंग, एंड देन Uri attack. Uri attack is on Air Force. Air Force base, and now Indian public had created lot of pressure that we cannot absorb things anymore, and India also had enough reason, and this is what India took the surgical strike, which India called as preemptive. Non-military, and surgical strike was within POK and targeting the terror infrastructure, and Pakistan was in the state of denial that surgical strike happened, not happened. But this is the time why we took surgical strikes, why we went for surgical strike, because if we will not react, if we will not take any punitive action, then Pakistan's ambition will keep on rising. Anyway, we are getting killed. So we have to take the punitive action. What was the problem in taking punitive action? Two problems. Pakistan's nuclear bluff, and second, India's stakes in international community. And we know the relations between these partners and Pakistan. So we were also concerned about the possible fallout, but we had to take. So we went for a very measured action, and this is where the game started changing. Okay, and like Pakistan was in the state of actually denial that anything like this has happened. Okay, now after that, this was when 2018 नहीं 19 में तो पुलवामा है 2018 उरी कब हुआ है 2016 ठीक है तो उरी हो गया 2016 और इंडिया इन द स्टेट ऑफ डिनायल है लेकिन फिर भी हमने रोड टू डिप्लोमेसी को कंटिन्यू रखा और इन 2017 both India and Pakistan became member of SCO. And since SARC was not moving, like after Uri attack, we said we will not be participating in Islamabad summit. So now India looked for a new platform, and that is the SCO platform, because the terror emanating from Pakistan is not just emanating from Pakistan, it is also emanating from Pakistan and China, and SARC loses relevance because this platform. So plus at the same time, it was not politically feasible that you continue with SARC. Still, we wanted to give diplomacy a chance, and SCO gives a platform for that particular purpose. Okay, and then came Pulwama. So Pulwama was the attack on CRPF, and high casualties, I think more than 40 casualties. Fine. So they are attacking Air Force, they are attacking Army, they are attacking CRPF. So in Operation Sindoor, सारे फोर्सेस ने एक साथ मिल के बदला लिया. ठीक है, तो सबको इंटीग्रेट किया गया और पाकिस्तान भी ऐसे सेलेक्टिवली कर रहा है. ओके, तो इसके बाद इंडिया वेंट फॉर बालाकोट स्ट्राइक. अब बालाकोट क्या है? इनसाइड पाकिस्तान, खैबर पख्तूनवा region, and it is like since 1971 for the first time Air Force entered beyond LOC, and now these were all learning, we were learning not many things, and primacy to be given to the Air Force in time to come. Fine. And after this Pulwama, we see lot of changes. We realized that there is a need for overhauling India's defense structure, its administrative structure, its modernization, procurement, and these type of things will keep on happening. So we focused after that on preparedness and Pulwama Balakot strike was something which Pakistan could not deny. The surgical strike they could deny, but Balakot strike they could not deny. So even Pakistan's action came into play. Okay, so there was a fear of nuclear escalation, and now a new experiment began, and that is whether there can be controlled escalation or India Pakistan will not be able to control the escalation. तो अब ये न्यूक्लियर एस्केलेशन का कॉन्सेप्ट किसका है? ये है हरमन कैहन, और ये न्यूक्लियर एस्केलेशन कॉन्सेप्ट ये बताता है कि डायरेक्ट न्यूक्लियर वॉर नहीं, हम लिमिटेड, we can see the possibility of limited conventional war under nuclear umbrella. Maybe India and Pakistan is also a testing ground for the nuclear theories now, and they may be willing to test the nuclear escalation ladder, whether it can be controlled or it may not be controlled. So obviously Pakistan and India, they entered into that dogfight. Then there was a US mediation and escalation stopped. Now this specific strategy which India has used means, Balakot में हमने क्या किया? We attacked the value targets of our adversary. ठीक है, इसको टिपिंग ऑफ स्ट्रेटेजी बोलते हैं. मतलब ये सब एक तरीके का कैलकुलेटेड रिस्क लेने वाले काम है, और हमको देखना होता है कि हाउ द अदर पार्टी विल बिहेव, एंड परहैप्स whenever there have been chances of things going out of control, then US comes into picture. So India Pakistan nuclear game is not bilateral, it is also trilateral. It has now become quadrilateral because China is also fished into the game. Okay, and after this, what we see, not so good relations between India and Pakistan, but after 2019, still we see certain developments like opening of Kartarpur corridor, then ceasefire at LOC. Now these developments were happening under Bajwa doctrine. So before Asif Munir, Bajwa was their chief of army, and somehow for good intention or bad intention. As far as Pakistan, you can say nobody has good intention. But Bajwa doctrine, we see that army is moving towards normalization. And in 2022, Bajwa is replaced towards end by Asif Munir. And then the domestic politics where Imran Khan going out of control, Imran Khan and army's position started diverting. So Pakistan's domestic scenario keep on changing. And so, and then elections in Pakistan in January, I think, in 2024, where despite all efforts by army and putting Imran Khan in the jail, Imran Khan's party and the members who stood as independents, they gained majority. It means the public in Pakistan is not supporting army. Army facing crisis of legitimacy, Asif Munir started the narratives of Kashmir as a jugular vein and these type of nonsense things. Means India should be cautious from that time itself that he is planning something. Okay. And then what we see, April, Pahalgam attack. Pahalgam attack also because domestic politics in Pakistan as well as international politics, that somehow Kashmir issue was losing traction, and the people in Kashmir also started realizing there is no point fighting, go back to normalization, and a sort of modus vivendi was emerging between government of India and the insurgents and separatists. There has been a definite stabilization in Kashmir. So Pakistan again wanted to bring Kashmir card. So Kashmir card Pakistan uses, not just Pakistan needs Kashmir, but to make itself relevant in international sphere. So whenever Pakistan will face, let's say, economic crisis, it will require money. तो एक तरीके का पाकिस्तान क्या कर रहा है नाउ, जो पाकिस्तान के सपोर्टिंग कंट्रीज हैं उनको ये रियलाइज करना होगा कि पाकिस्तान इज एन एक्सटॉर्शनिस्ट स्टेट. एक्चुअली वो एक्सटॉर्शन कर रहा है. कश्मीर इशू एस्केलेशन, एस्केलेशन में बाकी कंट्रीज चाहेंगे नहीं एस्केलेशन, एंड देन दे विल गिव मनी. तो it is very important that international community needs to understand what exactly Pakistan's policy is. तो economic reason या multiple reason से, because कश्मीर issue थोड़ा non important हो गया था, और सऊदी अरेबिया या यूएई इन्होंने जो इंडिया में चेंज किया आर्टिकल 370 का, उसका अपोजिशन नहीं किया, क्योंकि गवर्नमेंट्स डिप्लोमेटिक एंगेजमेंट्स विद और बहुत सारे डेवलपमेंट्स हो गए यमन रीजन से, तो चेंज भी, तो दे अगेन वांटेड टू यूज कश्मीर कार्ड. तो कश्मीर कार्ड इज नॉट सिंपली फॉर द वाटर. Kashmir card is for many other things. It makes Pakistan relevant in international sphere. Okay, so they again went for, before Pahalgam, we see that Zafar expressed tragedy and they keep on blaming. Day before yesterday, or I think yesterday also, there was again an attack. Fine. So up now what we see, a definite change, बहुत बड़ा चेंज इंडिया ने करा. ठीक है, तो दो चीजें खास हैं. इंडस वाटर ट्रीटी which India has kept in temporary abeyance. अब उसमें भी people are questioning the legality of India's action, but there is always gray zones and India is utilizing gray zones. जैसे इंडस वाटर ट्रीटी या वियना कन्वेंशन है ऑन ट्रीटीज, इंडिया मेंबर नहीं है, बट उसमें कुछ कुछ एक्सेप्शंस दिए होते हैं कि अगर ब्रीच है, कोई मटेरियल ब्रीच है, पर्पस किसी और का था, जियोपॉलिटिकल चेंजेस चेंज होते हैं. जैसे पेपर्स में ऐसे कह रहे हैं कि अबेयंस कर का कुछ होता नहीं है, लेकिन ऐसा नहीं है. अदर कंट्रीज हैव आल्सो डन दैट. यूएस हैज डन. जैसे यूएस और न्यूजीलैंड के बीच में ये एग्रीमेंट था कलेक्टिव सिक्योरिटी, लेकिन कुछ टाइम के लिए यूएस ने उसको हॉल्ट किया था. तो ऐसा होता है. तो कितना लीगल है कितना नहीं लीगल है, इट ऑल डिपेंड्स कि हम अपना केस कैसे प्रेजेंट करते हैं. तो इंडिया इज यूजिंग, और ये जो है ये बहुत बड़ा एंड वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट एक्शन, बिकॉज नाउ इंडिया हैज समथिंग टू coerce Pakistan. And let us not get frightened, because हमने भी टेस्ट किया है कि कोई भी कंट्री ऐसे न्यूक्लियर वेपन यूज करेगा नहीं. तो देयर इज अ स्कोप ऑफ करेगा तो करेगा, फिर क्या ही कर सकते हैं. फाइन. तो अब क्या है, अब वी हैव पुट बॉल इन ऑन देयर कोर्ट. फाइन. जैसे इंडिया ने या मोदी जी ने 3-point स्ट्रेटजी अगेंस्ट टेररिज्म बिल्कुल क्लियर कर दी कि हम स्टेट और नॉन स्टेट, पाकिस्तान ये एक्सक्यूज अब नहीं कर सकता है कि पाकिस्तान का कंट्रोल नहीं है, नॉन स्टेट एक्टर्स हैं. और पाकिस्तान अब ये और भी नहीं कर सकता है, जब ग्लोबल मीडिया में जो टेररिस्ट मारे गए उनके क्रिमेशन में उनके ऑफिसर्स अगर रिप्रेजेंटेड हैं, तो भाई इसमें कोई डिफरेंस नहीं है. इंडिया ने कह दिया कि जैसे अब इंटरनेशनल कम्युनिटी के स्टेक्स हैं, उनको पाकिस्तान को समझाना है, हमें नहीं समझाना है. ठीक है. तो पाकिस्तान हमेशा ये मौके तलाशता है कि भाई नॉन स्टेट एक्टर्स हैं. पाकिस्तान खुद के टेररिज्म के लिए एक विक्टिम कार्ड प्ले करता है, लेकिन अब हमने कह दिया तुमको जो करना है करो, हमको तुम्हारे से कोई कंसर्न ही नहीं है. यू आर अ विक्टिम, यू आर दिस इज योर प्रॉब्लम. These are red lines and India will respond. The moment there will be a terrorist attack, India will respond, but according to its choice. Plus India will go to the place of origin तक हम जाएंगे. मतलब हम ना, अब हमारे ऊपर भी एक तरीके से, अब हमारे ऊपर भी प्रेशर है कि अगर हमारी डिक्लेयर्ड पॉलिसी है तो हमें भी एक्शन लेना है. ओके. और हमने वी प्लेड दिस गेम इंटेलिजेंटली कि अब हम ये नहीं कह रहे, मतलब वी डोंट वांट टू लिसन पाकिस्तान विक्टिम वाली जो स्टोरी है. अब ये भी हो सकता है कि इंडिया ने जो अभी एससीओ रेजोल्यूशन सपोर्ट नहीं किया, तो खुद ही स्टोरी बना रहे होंगे बलूचिस्तान वाली क्योंकि उनको विक्टिम कार्ड प्ले करना है और ये कोशिश करते हैं कि इन पाकिस्तानी स्टेट एंड नॉन स्टेट एक्टर्स अलग हैं, लेकिन इंडिया इज ट्राइंग टू बिल्ड द नैरेटिव कि नहीं है अलग, और होंगे, दुनिया भर उन्हें अलग माने, बट हम नहीं मानेंगे। ठीक है, दैट इज वेरी गुड पार्ट ऑफ इट। यानी अब ना तो हम इंटरनेशनल कम्युनिटी को समझाएंगे, ना हमको पाकिस्तान से बात करनी है, सिर्फ बाकियों को प्रॉब्लम है तो वो समझाएं, पाकिस्तान विक्टिम है तो हुआ करे, हम ये डिस्टिंक्शन नहीं करेंगे। ठीक है, तो यानी अब हम शिफ्ट हो रहे हैं कहां से कहां, फ्रॉम डेटरेंस बाय डिनायल से कहां शिफ्ट हो गए, डेटरेंस बाय पनिशमेंट। लेकिन ये कहां पे हुआ, ये हुआ बालाकोट में। ठीक है, लेकिन अब हम इससे ऊपर चले गए, और इससे ऊपर के डेटरेंस की पॉलिसी को कहते हैं कंपेलेंस। कंपेलेंस का मतलब होता है यू आर ट्राइंग टू चेंज द बिहेवियर। इसमें क्या है, हम अपनी सुरक्षा का प्रबंध करें, इंटरनल सिक्योरिटी। इसमें है अटैक करने के बाद हम पनिशमेंट करें। लेकिन कंपेलेंस का मतलब यह है कि पाकिस्तान अटैक करने की सोचे ही नहीं। और क्यों नहीं सोचे, क्योंकि अब तक ये मतलब एक डेंजरस स्ट्रैटेजी तो है, लेकिन अब तक ऐसा हो रहा था कि पाकिस्तान वॉज नॉट पेइंग द कॉस्ट। 100 कट्स वाली पॉलिसी है, ओनली वी वेयर पेइंग द कॉस्ट, but now they will also have to pay the cost, and they will have to pay higher cost। तुमको खेलना है खेलो, खेल लो, हम भी खेलेंगे, और हमें पता है हम आप वैसे भी मार के चले जा रहे हो। ठीक है, तो अब केवल ये नहीं होगा कि हम ही लोग मरेंगे, या तो अब इनका भी कॉस्ट को रेस करना है। तो हम शिफ्ट हो गए फ्रॉम डेटरेंस बाय डिनायल से कंपेलेंस। अब कंपेलेंस की जो स्ट्रेटेजी होती है वो काफी रिस्किंग स्ट्रेटेजी है, फाइन, कि भाई पाकिस्तान बिल्कुल ही पागल हो और किसी भी कॉस्ट तक जाने, तो इसमें आपको भी किसी भी कॉस्ट पर जाने के लिए रेडी होना पड़ेगा। तो कोई बात नहीं, क्योंकि पाकिस्तान में तो वैसे भी पॉसिबिलिटी इन एडवर्टेंट अटैक की है, पाकिस्तान से पॉसिबिलिटी नॉन स्टेट एक्टर्स एक्वायरिंग भी है, और पाकिस्तान में वैसे ही डिफरेंस नहीं है, लेकिन रिस्क आपको लेना ही पड़ता है। तो प्रेजेंट स्ट्रेटेजी जो है वो कंपेलेंस की स्ट्रेटेजी है। ठीक है, अब हम पाकिस्तान को कंपेल कर रहे हैं कि वो अपना बिहेवियर चेंज करे। पाकिस्तान के लिए ये आसान नहीं है, ठीक है, कि वो अपना बिहेवियर चेंज करे, क्योंकि पाकिस्तान का पूरा जो इकोनॉमी सब कुछ उसके इन कार्ड्स के ऊपर बेस्ड है। पाकिस्तान की डोमेस्टिक पॉलिटिक्स इसके ऊपर बेस्ड है। तो ऐसे इंडिया अज्यूम करके चल रहा है कि हम कंपेलेंस कर लेंगे। कंपेलेंस होगा नहीं, क्योंकि पाकिस्तान हैज हाई कैपेसिटी ऑफ रिस्क, तो इंडिया is also taking high risk. We are taking high risk because there is no other option but to take risk. It is good to take risk because at least there is something to deter. They will deter, they will not deter, it's up to them. तो ये जो हमने पॉलिसीज, इसके बाद राजनाथ सिंह जी का भी 5 पॉइंट आया कि इंटरनेशनल कम्युनिटी और उसको भी टेररिज्म एनीवेयर हैज टू बी सीन, सारा इंटरलिंक्ड। तो हमारी प्रेजेंट स्ट्रेटेजी जो है वो कंपेलेंस की स्ट्रेटेजी है। जो हाई रिस्क स्ट्रेटेजी है, जैसे एशले टेलिस ने एक बार आर्टिकल लिखा था कि पाकिस्तान विल नॉट चेंज, मतलब पाकिस्तान टेररिज्म वाली स्ट्रेटेजी करता ही रहेगा, या पाकिस्तान विल कंटिन्यू विद इट्स स्ट्रेटेजी, क्योंकि उनका पूरा स्टेट सिस्टम उसके ऊपर बेस्ड है। तो ये रिस्क प्रोन स्ट्रेटेजी है। तो अब ये रिस्क प्रोन स्ट्रेटेजी को आप कैसे मैनेज करेंगे? फिर प्रिपेयर्डनेस। अब इस पर्टिकुलर वॉर में जो स्टैंड ऑफ वेपन्स हैं उनका रोल बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट रहा। तो प्रिपेयर्डनेस, प्रोक्योरमेंट, you need to continuously take lot of reforms like joint administrative reforms, आपको ये लेते रहने पड़ेंगे। बेटर कोऑर्डिनेशन है। लेकिन जो सबसे बड़ा रिस्क आता है इंडिया के सामने वो ये है कि चाइना पाकिस्तान एक्सेस को कैसे मैनेज करें। एक फियर है कि अगले वॉर में चाइना में कम मोर ओपनली इन सपोर्ट। इसका मतलब यह है कि इफ वी विल टेक कंपेलेंस स्ट्रेटेजी and compel Pakistan to change its behavior, Pakistan may change its behavior, but that is not beneficial to China and US. तो चाइना अब आगे कोई एस्केलेशन होता है या वॉर होती है तो अभी चाइना ने केवल वेपन्स दिए, लेकिन चाइना टू फ्रंट वॉर स्टार्ट कर सकती है। तो आर वी प्रिपेयर्ड फॉर टू फ्रंट वॉर? And what steps are we going to take up? Even I believe that within few months we may again get to same situation, and this time the possibility is two front war. So what we have to do, either we have to have good communications and improve relations with China, go for preparedness, have as many partners as possible, consolidate your relations with Russia, France, European countries, because you cannot trust US that much. So India, there is no resting time now, because you have taken a very risky path that is called compellence. अब इसको हम कैसे मैनेज करेंगे? तो हम चाइना ये वाले इसमें फिर हमको क्या करना होगा? We will have to use our comprehensive national power. Comprehensive national power means all components of our power, and we have to move very fast in that line. Possibility of escalation is always there, will continue to be there, and risk is risk, war is war. Nobody can determine and predict the results. So this is the story in short actually. क्या समझ में आया? कुछ क्या क्या हुआ इसको लेके कुछ क्लैरिटी आई आपको? हाँ, एक पिक्चर बनी। तो अब तो टाइम नहीं बचा है, वरना हम इससे रिलेटेड आपको तो मोस्टली तो यही है ऑपरेशन, मतलब वेयर आवर पॉलिसी इज लीडिंग, चेंज इन डेटरेंस और इंडस वाटर। ठीक है, तो अब ये जो नेक्स्ट क्लास होगा उसमें आई विल गिव द नोट्स। तुम्हें अब ऐसे लग रहा है कुछ कुछ हैंडल कर सकते हैं? कर तो तुम लोग सब लेते हो, बस एग्जामिनर तुमको हैंडल नहीं कर पाता है ना? चलो, तो इस पे क्वेश्चंस 2-3 क्वेश्चंस हम लिखा देंगे इन द नेक्स्ट क्लास। आज तुम्हारी गति शक्ति के चक्कर में हम फंस गए। गति शक्ति योजना चल रही है अभी, हमको लगा संडे को पहुंच जाएंगे हम टाइम से, हुआ नहीं। ठीक है, सो आई होप यू गॉट द क्लैरिटी। हालांकि लास्ट पार्ट थोड़ा और इलेबरेट करना था, व्हाट ऑल चेंजेस आर देयर। आई बिलीव इसमें से तो क्वेश्चन तुम्हारे इंटरनल सिक्योरिटी से में भी आना चाहिए, हाँ, काउंटर टेररिज्म स्ट्रेटेजी। ठीक है।